and yet profoundly spiritual. But the emphasis tonight is on the practical side of this wonderful, wonderful law of ours. I am the true vine. My Father is the vine dresser. Every branch of mine that bears no fruit, he takes away. Every branch of mine that does bear fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. These are the words put into the mouth of the character called Jesus Christ. In the same gospel, the Gospel of John, he makes the statement, I and my Father are one. So if the Father does the pruning, it is self-pruning. This eternal vine is the human imagination. I can't tell anyone the shock that comes to man when he who was taught to believe in an external Jesus Christ, in an external Father, discovers that his own wonderful human imagination is Jesus Christ. And that Jesus Christ and his Father are one. When you find Jesus Christ, may I tell you, you will find him a wild, wild tree. As the poet said, behold this vine. I found it a wild tree, whose wanton strength had swollen into irregular twigs. But I pruned the plant, and it grew temperate in its vain expense of useless leaves, and knotted, as you see, into these clean, full clusters, to repay the hand that wisely wounded it. When you find that your own wonderful human imagination is the Lord Jesus Christ, and you discover what you have been doing with the Lord Jesus Christ all through your life, you are shocked beyond measure. I can't tell anyone the shock until they themselves experience it. Have I been doing this to him? Yes. Here he waits on me like a slave. And he waits on me as indifferently and as swiftly when the will in me is evil as when it is good. And he does it all for purposes of his own. He's actually lifting me to the consciousness of himself. That this Lord Jesus Christ, the only Lord Jesus Christ, is crucified on man and is buried in man. He is not a man, he is the man, the universal man, buried in humanity. Humanity is God incarnate. Then he rises in the individual man, and the man in whom he rises becomes the man, the universal man. For in the end there is Jesus only. Now, because my own wonderful human imagination is the Lord Jesus Christ, and by him all things were made, and without him was not one thing made that was made, I now have to take myself in hand. I have found the vine. I am the true vine. And my Father is the vine dresser. And I and my Father are one. So I have to start now the pruning process. It is not when I want something big in life that I operate this law. Every second of time I do it. It is not once a week on Sunday when I go to church, not once a day when I retire at night. I am constantly observing what I am imagining. For all the things that I am imagining are going to come to pass. They are not receding into the past. They are advancing into the future to confront me. I may not recognize my harvest when I see it, but nothing comes into my world but what it was first imagined. Everything in my world. The little insignificant things. You read in the paper and you react. You meet a friend and you react. And all these little things are imaginal acts. And they're coming into our world. Now let me share with you a story told me this week. She's here tonight. She said, we got a call last Sunday, my mother and I, from my brother in Toronto. He's a young lad. I dare say 19. And he went off to Toronto to avoid the draft. And she said, I know I didn't do it. I told him that was your decision. We talked for about 20 minutes over the phone. My mother and I. And after we hung up, my mother said, I did it. I know the very second I did that. For I said to myself, your brother will do this because it's exactly what his father would have done. But the father isn't here anymore. The father has departed this world. She said, I felt it and I knew it and I dropped it. Let it go. But, she said, in her letter to me, he reconsidered. He only externalized my mother's imaginal act. He did it. Then he reconsidered and returned. And tonight, he goes into the army. He had to do exactly what was done. Because we are one. All things by a law divine in one another's being mingled. When the poet Yeats said, having seen these things happen in his life, said, I will never be certain that it was not some woman treading in the winepress that started that subtle change in men's minds, or that it was not some shepherd boy lighting up his eyes for a moment before it ran upon its way. Who is treading in the winepress? Well, the mother discovered she did it. She recalled the very moment she did it, but then she dropped it. Now there is your secret. She let it go. A seed must be let go. I can hold it in my hand. A seed must fall into the ground and die before it is made alive. You want something big in this world, and you're holding on to it, but it hasn't dropped. It's the little things that you don't care about. All the little insignificant things. So you feel them intensely and you drop them because the other things are so big and so important. The other things you're holding on to, you haven't dropped them at all. You haven't dropped them. All the little things, your little annoyances in the life. So you read the morning's paper and someone you do not know and you react. Then you go on to another scene and another scene. And some are pleasant, some are horrible, but you are reacting. But the day comes and what you consider more important things. So you take the big things, the important things of the day, but you don't let them go. You want to be happily married. You want more money. You want a home of your own. You want it completely free of all debts, but you hold on to them. You don't let them go as you do the little things. And the little things, because you drop them like seeds into the ground, They're popping up all day long, confronting you, but you don't recognize your own harvest.